Well, hey everybody, and welcome to another day on my channel. I'm here working hard. Right now I'm focusing on tutorials for 911 first responders / emergency 4 gameplay. We are on tutorial number 6. And this is where, like I said, if the config file was the basics of the game, where we're going next is the next step up. And we're still modifying the basic game. At least that's the thought process. But everything that I tell you to do really also applies to mods, if you're interested in those too, even though we'll talk about those downstream. So here we are in the 911 first responders directory, or emergency 4. Just pretend that that's emergency 4 if you want. And we're in the basic one. I don't know why it did that. I've been having a little problem with my computer today. If you're using Windows 10 and you've had some issues lately with updates, I think you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, here we are in the base directory for 911 first responders. And we had gone over just about everything that's in this part of the directory. These are files that aren't in folders. They're in the main folder, but not anything else. And what they do, kind of do, and we'll go back to them. And there's the config file right there that we've been fooling with. So now we're going to change gears. And we're going to go up to the data folder. And we're going to double click on that. And you can see that there's several folders inside of that. And each one of these folders has folders. I mean, it's just this cascading folder directory system. And there's lots of things in here that have to do with how what the game runs, what's in the game, etc. From base data to emitters, which is everything from lights to sirens, to where the maps are stored, where models are stored, which is where all the buildings, the pedestrians, and the vehicles are stored. And the folder that we want to open today is the specs folder. And here we go. You notice that all the extensions on all the files in this folder, with the exception of the bottom one, which is a key file, are XML extensions, which means all of these are basically program language. They used XML, which is a program language all by itself. It's very common as a programming language in internet documents, internet website stuff. The company that made this game chose it as some of the programming language for this game. So let's move up to the next level a little bit and look at the FP params endless XML file and start talking about things you can change. So I'm going to open this up in Notepad++. Here it is. As you can see, we'd already kind of dissected this file a little bit, knowing that we're going to just not pay attention to this kind of stuff here for right now. There's no changes that can be made in that. And really all that we're going to talk about in this tutorial is there's 15 lines here of value statements that are part of a bigger picture of what we can change, but each thing takes time. So knowing that it doesn't matter if we're in the FP params endless.xml file or the other one, which is the challenge. Because the info is pretty much identical. Let's talk about these 12 value statements in this particular tutorial and save the rest for another tutorial. So let's go through them one at a time. First one right here is the minimum min duration between events value. What this says is this is the minimum amount of time, and I don't believe it's in minutes and seconds. It's in something. There's a term that's used in computerese called ticks. And if you have a clock that makes noise, which is pretty rare anymore, but think about that for a second. Every tick you hear on a regular clock usually indicates a second. In computers, it could be anything. It could be a half second, a quarter second. And you're not going to hear the tick-tock, but you got to know that it represents a piece of time. So for ease, well, let's say this is 30 seconds. And it may not be 30 seconds, but that's what's listed here. This is the base value in the game for this event. Value is 30. That's the minimum duration of time between events. Now remember I told you about what events are, that you should remember what they are. This is the time span between two events. 30. Pretty much you're going to be moving from start to finish. Now, I don't know what the upper limit number is. I've never gone above 225. But you can put any number in there. And so what that does is it'll make less calls in a given block of time and either decrease the time between incidents or expand them, so at least you have time to take care of one before you get to another. I think that's the best way to describe it. If you feel rushed and you've got too much going on, you need to space out your calls a little bit. And when you change this value, it changes it for all of the events. It doesn't just do fires, it doesn't just do police, it does all the events, because this is a duration between events, not specific subcategories of events. So feel free to change this to see what values work for you to allow you to, if you want to run all police incidents, and I'll show you how to do that in another video, you have time to kind of do each one. Because honestly, for me, the way I want to play this game is I want to set up the apparatus and get the lines out and kind of organize the scene and watch that event either unfold and get bigger, or, you know, we're successful and we take care of it quick and then move on to the next one. I like the challenge of having multiple incidents occur, but there are some times that that's not what you're looking for. This is the one way of helping you out when you're in that mood. So that's minimum duration between events. Number 2 is called maximum idle duration. And what this is I guess this isn't a guarantee. The minimum duration between events, even though you change that, you're not guaranteed that an incident's going to occur, guaranteed if at 30.001 whatever's. Sometimes it skips that. So they added another value called the maximum time that your personnel are idle before it kind of respins the dial and sees if they're going to get another incident in that time period. from my expectations or my experiences, if I have this at a high number, let's say I have this at 100, I want this number to be slightly lower. I've never made it go higher. I've never had that succeed. I don't think this does as much as a lot of people say. I think that the min duration between events value is more important. But this one's here as well. And I think they're semi-tied together. But in some mods, they just don't seem to have any effect at all. So that's number 2. Number 3 is the seed value. I don't have a clue, guys. Never seen that value touched. Nobody's ever changed it. It's just one of those things that just happens to be in this particular group of value statements that we're looking at. I'd leave it at 0. I think all my mods have it at 0. The next 2 are BuyFactor and SellFactor. Now, how many of you have sold a fire apparatus or a police car in one of these one of these games, or your last time you played? Did you sell anything? I haven't either. Again, these are values that are basic to the game, but I think they're more for stuff that have to do with missions and challenges than they are for just what most of us do, which is free play. So again, I'd leave them at 10.0 and 0.5 and not worry about it, but it's there. Next one is known as the Global Event Frequency Factor. I've always seen this value be 1.0. And I think if you play as all of the different factions, fire, police, and EMS, there's a multiple timer system going that says globally the time is going this speed, fire incidents are going at this on this clock, police incidents are going on this clock, and EMS incidents are going on this clock. And it looks at them all and makes selections. And I don't even know where I actually saw that first. I have not seen a lot of discussion about it since. You could marry the one below it, which is TimeSpeedFactor, into it as well, because certainly you don't want a given incident or event for the game to go faster than normal, unless you like doing that kind of thing. So it should be 1.0 should be the normal default number. But you can change it if you want. I imagine you could make it slower. And I would say, think of a structure fire in this game where it seems like sometimes you put the fire out too fast. I wonder if you lowered that number to a like 0.5 or 0.25, excuse me, or raised it, would you put the fire out faster? And lower, in which direction is it? Because you have to know how that clock works. I've never seen those values change, so I actually don't know. If you're thinking about changing it, it's easy to change and change back. You know, it's a double click. And you can change that number. Just like that number. So because they're values with decimal points in between them, it comes as a different color. See how that's green? I can't get this to turn green except by the single number. So I wouldn't fool with these too much, but they are here, and I thought I'd talk about them a little bit. Shows you how little I know about them, really honest. They don't affect my gameplay for the most part. Try not to hit the delete button when you're talking to people and you have a lot of things highlighted. Thank goodness I had the time to hit the undo button. So let's talk about the next three, because they are definitely things that we look at in this game. There's a starting budget, there's a maximum budget, and there are earnings. And we experience them whether you're playing the base game or you play a mod, because they automatically show up. So you can change these values very easily. If you think starting with 75,000 whatevers, because if you're in Germany, it's going to be one thing, and if you're in Sweden, it's going to be another, and if you're in the United States, it's going to be dollars. Maybe you think that's too low. And I don't know what this is on a time schedule as far as earnings, so who knows? And if you get a lot of events, but you seem to, if you go past a given number of fire equipment or police cars, you have to buy, like tow trucks, or seem to be the most popular thing, where after you've used the first tow truck, you got to buy the next one. And now once you buy it, you can use it again, but you got to buy them. And if you get a bad accident as your first call and you need 5 tow trucks, and you only have one, that might wipe you out financially. So it's up to you whether you want to start at this level or if you want to add money to start the game with. I don't know if there's a limit. Most people I usually see put, if they want to just make it easy on themselves, they put $1 million in there and they don't have any issues. Max budget is how far up you can go. So if you want $1 million and you want to start with $1 million, both of these numbers need to be the same. If you want to start with 500,000, but you want to max out at, let's say, 2 million, that max budget value is where you would put that. Earnings is that little blue screen that pops up every so often that tells you you've been paid, so to speak. And you can set whatever number in there you want. And when it hits the max budget, it stops paying you until you spend some money. Some of the mods, the max budget's like 4 million or more. And so you rarely get earnings because you can't spend the money. Sometimes if they've done the mod right, you're not asking for other equipment. You're not buying anything. It already exists in the game. So it's just, I think it is like a hold button. It stops it from pestering you. You know what I mean? The next two, well, let's just say the next one, squad price growth. Likely more of something you might worry about with the missions or the challenge. I think as the missions get more difficult, it becomes more of a challenge to be able to afford them all, unless you make changes in the starting, max, and earnings values. And so I think that's the only place that really makes a difference. In most mods and in the base game, I don't see that affecting my play. The next one down is called max parking space value. And this is not what you think it is. This is how many vehicles in your game that you have access to. And this is cumulative. All the fire apparatus, the police apparatus, the EMS apparatus, including coroners, stuff like that, and tow trucks, cranes, all that stuff. How many of them can you have on a given map? And that's a value you can change. Now, I've seen it work and I've seen it fail. And sometimes when you get above a certain number, like 70-ish, it just simply won't give you any more of what you think you're going to get. Now, that max parking space thing can also include vehicles that aren't parked in fire stations on the map, but are called from off the map, if you know what that means. I think you do. Are part of that value. That can change across a number of different mods, and usually requires some other things when they're playing with some things as far as how many apparatus are parked in each station, how many apparatus, let's say the one county mod where there's 4 stations, but there's vehicles off the map that can be called in. And, there's a fixed number of those like Mayberry, and you don't exceed those. If you get more incidents than those vehicles can handle, you're just going to have to jump from fire to fire or EMS to EMS call. There's no more. No more exists. It's the best way I can put that. And I'm probably not doing a very good job at it. Okay. So, next 2. Initial event frequency boost is when you start your game, how soon are you going to have to wait for your first incident? And first of its type. Do I know many mods that have changed this value? I honestly don't know. Have I changed this value? Never. But I know it's there, and it's certainly one that you could tinker with. And I think it's tied a little bit to this next one, which is called initial event wait duration, which that 5.0 isn't 5 minutes, trust me. It's 5 ticks, because I've never had to wait very long. I mean, when I put my videos up, when I'm doing gameplay for this game, usually when I say, "Hi folks, welcome to my channel," they're dispatching a call in the background. So that can't be 5 minutes. But there it is. And that number can be changed as well. I'm understanding from hearing from some people that sometimes it works and sometimes it has no effect on when you first start the game. Your mileage may vary. Is the best I can do for you on that. And then the last one in this column of values is the starting time value. And the description on this that I'm most familiar with is when you start the game, how much time do you have before the first incident or event? Now that says 7:30, and you could only hope, especially if you were using a mod where you have to call the vehicles onto the map and put them in the fire stations, that you would have a few minutes to get that done before the first bell goes off. It's not 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Again, like I said, it's a time value that's in the game, but it may not be anything you recognize. And I've changed it in various mods, and it's had no effect on that initial call. So either I'm doing something wrong, and I've read all the forums, or I'm not going far enough, not high enough up. I think the longest number I've seen is 10. It gives me, I would say, like in the Boston mod, or what's the one I just did? Ocean City. I think in Ocean City I might have had 3 minutes. And it didn't say 3 minutes for the start time value. So it's another value, time value, that's not what you think it is. And so you're going to have to play with it. If you have like the Ocean City mod, it's tougher to get the Boston mod, especially my version, the 2014 one. It seemed like it's been taken offline. I'm still fooling with it to see what I can do. I'd like to get most of the fire apparatus and at least 2 police cars and 2 ambulances on the map before the dispatcher comes on and starts making me run all over the map. So it is something that is begging to be played with, that if you make a change, just remember what the base values were, write them down somewhere or whatever, however you do that. Make a copy of this, write them down, make a change, play the game, see what it does, go back, change it. And that's how most people have found out how to work everything in this game. I really believe that when they were talking about supporting mods, they were only talking about supporting the maps. The things that we have added to the game over time. And when I say we, I don't mean me personally, because I've never developed a mod to finish. I've got a bunch that I started but never finished because it's a truckload of work. But all of these things play in somewhere, and it's just figuring it out. And because people come and go in the group of people that play this game and look at the forums and try to do stuff, information comes and goes with it. Forums go down, forums get merged with other forums, files disappear. And so stuff that may have been up once upon a time to tell you how to do stuff is now missing. And so that's why you have to keep reinventing things, because sometimes the answer's not there anymore, or at least it's not anywhere I can find it. And I'm pretty good at Google. And so that's the first 15. I hope I kind of gave you an idea of what they are. I'm sure I've missed a little bit of 100% of all of the descriptions over time. To me, the ones that are really going to get a lot of looking at that I recommend is these two up top, the MinDurationBetweenEvents, the MaxIdleDuration. Unless if you're playing the base game and you want a few more dollars because you're very limited on fire apparatus. I don't know about police so much, but I know you don't get many fire trucks, especially pumpers. You get the little rescue vehicles that carry up to 4 guys, and they have hose, but they don't pump. Well, that doesn't do any good when the whole world's on fire for your first call. So in the base game, I would bump up both your starting budget and your maximum budget so that you can buy more extra fire equipment right away. I may even think of that for some of the EMS calls you go on where it's a traffic collision and you use up all your ambulances and you got 2 or 3 calls waiting for vehicles to be available. And if you don't like that, the only way that the game gives you to fix that is to buy the next vehicle and the personnel that go in it. So that's something else to look at, is these budget numbers here. So we'll color those. So there's 5 right now. And then honestly, I not so much the initial event wait duration am I worried about as much as this time here. And I'm going to continue to fool with some mods to see what I can do. And if I find out that there's something new or different, or that I found something that kind of works for some of the popular mods that are out there that you seem to need more time to get your rigs on the map before the world catches fire, or there's crimes occurring every split second, this is where I would find it, and it's something I would update you guys with downstream. So let's stop this tutorial with these 15 values. I think I said 15. Obviously, there's about 6 that are really important that you should look at right away. And there's some that if you really, really, really want to do it, there may be some changes in the gameplay in the base game. It may not affect anything that you do because you may never get to the point where it did, or it stopped you or whatever. But try those out. It's very simple. Like I said, you just double click on the numbers. You can change those values. and put in the numbers you think are in your comfort level to play a given round of the game, and see what you think. So thanks for coming by for this tutorial, number 6, I think, right? 6. I haven't written it down yet. I keep bumping my elbow on my tablet and it smears the ink. And so I think it looks like 6, but I can't really tell. Anyway, I'm working hard on making these because I think they're important. I'm amazed at how many people are new to this game that are still interested in it, and they need to get the same information. I was lucky enough to find a few years ago that some of it exists still and some of it doesn't exist at all. And things change, you know. And so I'm going to keep my nose to the grindstone, cranking these things out as quick as I can with the good information that people need to take their games to the next level. So have a great day, a great evening, wherever you are on the planet. It's dark where I'm at right now. It's the first day without rain. It's been a really good day, nice day today. It's been real tough to sit in front of the computer with the sun outside, and it's warmish. Didn't have the heater on today. Didn't have first day without at least a sweatshirt on, which for us is cold here in California. But I mean, if you live on the East Coast, you think I'm pathetic. That's okay. But I'll get back to making best stuff I can for my channel, best of my ability. Please leave me comments, pointers, and if you're thinking of a tutorial you'd like to see, I really need to know, man. I'd love to put one together that answers the question that you have in your head, and maybe it'll help us both out. So on that high note, I'll go back to putting together the good stuff for this channel. I promise I'll see you in the next video, and you guys have a great one.